Have you ever walked into a room and felt the temperature drop? Not from words, but from glances, delayed replies, or forced smiles that never quite reach the eyes. They do not shout, they do not confront. Instead, they chip away at your presence with calculated quiet. A sigh when you speak, a joke that cuts, a silence too sharp to ignore. These are not harmless habits, they are signals. And if you let them slide, you teach others how to treat you. We are about to uncover the quiet tactics that erode respect without a sound. But before we point the finger at others, let's take a moment to do something few dare to do. Look in the mirror. Ask yourself with brutal honesty, was my message truly clear? Is it possible that in my haste I spoke vaguely, leaving room for misunderstanding? Sometimes the confusion of others is born from our own lack of clarity. Looking at yourself first isn't weakness. It's the move of a master strategist, ensuring your foundation is solid before you enter any engagement. It helps you distinguish genuine misunderstanding from a calculated performance. And when you are 100% certain that you have spoken your truth with clarity, calm, and intention, and you are still met with a puzzled look, then welcome to the first game. There is a form of disrespect so quiet, so subtle that most people miss it entirely. It doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't argue. It doesn't even sound aggressive. It simply pretends not to understand you. Imagine this. You're in a meeting. You offer a clear opinion on a project. A colleague smirks and says, "Wait, I don't quite get what you're saying." You know they do. But now the room's eyes are on you, waiting for you to defend what needed no defense. The truth is they're not confused. They're controlling the conversation. They're shifting the burden from themselves to you. Suddenly, you're on the defensive, forced to explain yourself over and over, watering down your clarity just to meet their staged confusion. Each repetition weakens your presence and makes you look uncertain. In the Machiavellian world, this isn't just annoying, it's strategic. It's a quiet war on your authority. When someone deliberately performs misunderstanding, it's about making you doubt yourself. If you allow it to continue, it is not patience, it's surrender. The moment you over-explain, you start negotiating your worth. Stoic philosophy teaches us to hold our ground not by force, but by clarity and restraint. You do not need to chase comprehension where there is no intention to understand. You only need to preserve your center. So you don't play their game. You anchor yourself in truth. Say it once. Say it well. And if they pretend not to get it, resist the urge to explain again. Instead, take control of the situation. Your response, however, should be tailored to the power dynamic. With a peer or equal, look them in the eye. Not with aggression, but with absolute calm, and state simply, "I believe I was clear." Pause. Let the silence do its work. If they persist, you might add, if it didn't land, "Perhaps this conversation isn't as meaningful to you as it is to me." Say it without anger, without fear. At that moment, your silence becomes louder than your explanation. With a superior or a client, you obviously cannot be so direct. In this case, use a different tactic with the same principle. Shift the burden back to them gracefully. You can say, "Thank you. So I can clarify more effectively. Could you please tell me which part of my explanation was specifically unclear?" This question forces them to pinpoint a detail, which they cannot do if their confusion is a facade. It exposes their vagueness and returns control to you. In writing, when someone replies to your detailed email with "I'm not clear on this," do not write a longer email. Reply concisely. The specific details are in the third paragraph of my previous email. I've quoted it below for your convenience. Then, copy and paste the exact text. This is professional and sends a clear meta message. I've done my part. Now it's your turn. Remember, those who use this tactic often lack the courage to challenge you directly. They feign confusion, hoping you will unravel, trying to make it easier for them. Don't participate. You do not owe anyone repetition when their intent is manipulation. You do not owe anyone an explanation when your conscience is clean. A wise person speaks once. A desperate person begs to be heard. Be wise, be still. If feigned misunderstanding is a guerrilla attack in the dark, the next tactic is an ambush in broad daylight, perfectly disguised. It's a weapon we have all faced, the joke that is actually a knife. You speak with intention, share a heartfelt idea, or set a clear boundary. And what greets you is not thoughtful dialogue, but a grin, a smirk, and the magic words, "Relax, I was just joking. Make no mistake, this is not humor." It is a dismissal disguised as wit. The laugh isn't meant to amuse, it is meant to diminish. This is a strategic insult cloaked in comedy, designed to undermine you in public while preserving the other person's plausible innocence. It is a performance meant to make you the spectacle and them the clever observer. And it is a trap. If you respond seriously, they will accuse you of being overly sensitive. If you remain silent, they will repeat it. And if you try to respond with similar sarcasm, you risk being labeled the aggressor. Why do people do this? Often, it stems from insecurity. People who feel threatened by your confidence, envious of your competence, or simply lack the courage for a direct confrontation will choose this indirect route. The joke is their shield, allowing them to throw stones and hide their hands. They hope to unbalance you to make you shrink, and in doing so, they feel more secure in their own position. A strategist escapes this trap. You don't play by their rules, you set a new board. You don't return noise with more noise, you return it with sharper clarity. When someone hides an insult inside a joke, you meet them with stillness and precision. Hold your posture. Lean slightly forward. Maintain a neutral gaze, neither angry nor afraid, and speak in a calm, controlled voice. You can take the direct approach by exposing the intent. It's funny how people hide behind jokes when they want to say something real. Let that sentence hang in the air. Do not explain. Do not apologize. This doesn't need to be shouted. It slices through the pretense and shows everyone. I see your game and I will not play it. Or you can take an indirect approach by reframing the game with the intent versus impact technique. You can say, I understand your intent was to be funny, but the impact was that it derailed our focus. Now can we get back to the issue at hand? This is polite but firm. It acknowledges their stated good intention while skillfully highlighting the unprofessional result and returning the conversation to your control. And what if the entire group laughs along? This is the most difficult scenario. Do not try to confront each person. Elevate the game. You can offer a slight smile and address the whole group. I'm glad my idea is so entertaining. It shows it's getting attention. Now, let's harness that attention and turn it into a real plan of action. With this, you don't cast yourself as the victim, but as a leader turning negative energy into forward momentum. Marcus Aurelius taught us to train our minds not to be ruled by mockery or approval, but by virtue and clarity. When you are targeted by disguised disrespect, you do not descend to their level. You quietly rise above it, not through superiority, but through self-command. Many of us have a habit of laughing along to keep the peace, but every time you let a veiled jab pass, it carves into your authority. You are not the entertainment, you are the presence, and a presence, when held with quiet strength, cannot be turned into a punchline. Now we move from attacks of sound, jokes, and laughter to a territory that is more subtle and perhaps more cruel. A place where disrespect needs no words at all. It hides in the space between messages, in delayed plans, in absences without explanation. This is the third behavior, when their silence speaks louder than you do. It speaks without speaking. It delays without explanation. It disappears without apology. You send an important message and then you wait, hours, sometimes days. Meanwhile, you see them active, responding instantly to others. They cancel on you last minute with a vague excuse. They reschedule again and again, as if your time were clay they could reshape at will. And sometimes they vanish completely, only to reappear when they want something from you. Let's be clear, This is not poor time management. This is a test. The issue is not their busyness, but the meaning behind the delay. Because when someone makes you wait without care, they are telling you exactly how little they value your presence. Machiavelli understood this well. He believed that time is not just a resource, but a weapon. The person who controls the clock controls the power. The one who waits is not equal to the one who decides when the waiting ends. In this dynamic, time becomes a silent hierarchy. And the more often you accept the waiting, the more you teach them that you are willing to accept less. The feeling of waiting gnaws at you. It breeds anxiety. Did I say something wrong? Are they mad at me? Maybe I'm not important enough. You begin to doubt your own worth, and when they finally do reply, you feel a sense of relief, of gratitude, simply because they have granted you a sliver of their attention. That is precisely what they want. They are training you to crave their approval. So before we react, how can we be sure it's intentional disrespect and not just a genuinely busy person? Use a simple filter. First, is it a pattern? Anyone can be busy once, but if it becomes their standard mode of operating with you, that's a red flag. Second, is it selective? Do they treat everyone this way or just you? If they reply instantly to others but let your messages sit for days, you have your answer. Busyness is democratic, disrespect is selective. Once you identify this as a tactic, the Stoic response is not to get angry. It is not to send long, demanding texts. It is not to beg for attention. The answer is, you silently take your power back. You mirror their effort. This is a powerful concept. It means you respond to distance with calm space. You let silence return to its sender. You don't need to announce, I'm going to ignore you now. No, your shift must be as quiet as their disrespect. You simply withdraw the energy you once gave freely. Here is how it works in practice. You do not send the follow-up text asking, "Did you get my message?" When they cancel and say, "Let's do next week," instead of immediately agreeing, you reply, "Let me check my schedule and get back to you." And don't get back to them right away. Let them wait. When they finally text you after days of silence, do not reply instantly. Let a few hours pass. Mirror their pace. When they suggest another meeting, you can say gently, "Thanks for the offer, but my schedule is a bit tight right now. Maybe some other time." This action is not for revenge. It is about re-establishing balance. Relationships should run on mutual care, not manipulation. When you do this, one of two things will happen. Either they will notice the shift, realize your value, and step up to improve, or they will drift away. Either way, you win. Because you have chosen alignment over chasing, clarity over confusion, and above all, self-respect over silent compromise, Marcus Aurelius reminded us that our time is our life. To allow someone to repeatedly waste your time is to allow them to waste pieces of your existence. A person who honors you will not need reminders. Your response should not be a lecture. It should be a change in access. People feel the weight of your silence far more than your explanation. We've dealt with disrespect we can see, like a bad performance, and disrespect we can feel, like a cold silence. But now, we enter the heart of the labyrinth. We face the most dangerous form of disrespect because it doesn't feel like disrespect at all. It feels like love. This is the fourth behavior, the praise that silently shrinks you. It is a betrayal that does not shout, it whispers. It comes wrapped in smiles, in gentle advice, in encouragement that carries the scent of hesitation. These are the people who clap when you speak, but raise their eyebrows when you dare to speak too boldly. They are the ones who say they believe in you, yet constantly offer warnings instead of trust. They will tell you to go for your dreams, then quietly suggest those dreams might be too big. They will applaud your courage, then privately confess you came across as too intense. This is not open opposition. This is disguised sabotage. And the most dangerous part is that it feels like love and care. Let's call these people what they are, frenemies. Their motive isn't always pure malice. often it stems from their own fear. Your growth highlights their stagnation. Your courage exposes their fear. Your big dreams make their safe life feel small. So, under the guise of caring for you, they are actually trying to manage their own anxiety by keeping you close, at a level they are comfortable with. They don't want to see you fail, but they also can't bear to see you succeed beyond them. Machiavelli would recognize that the most corrosive threat comes not from those outside the walls, but from those who sit closest, not with knives, but with suggestions. Because if someone can make you second-guess yourself, they no longer need to confront you. You will do the job for them. You will shrink your own voice. You will clip your own ambition. So what do you do when you realize you're in this sweet-tasting trap? You cannot get angry, because they will just say, "I only want what's best for you." You must become a quiet strategist. Here is a two-step plan to take back control. Step 1, the false mirror test. When you feel this soft sabotage, do not rush to defend your worth. Instead, observe. Offer them a version of your plan that is slightly exaggerated, just 10 or 20% bolder than your true plan. Tell them you're thinking of launching your idea sooner, that your goals have grown larger than before, and then pay attention. If they lean in with genuine excitement and ask constructive questions, they are allies. But if they recoil with vague concern and hesitation, if their support is masked in limitation, you have found your false mirror. Step 2, recalibrate the distance. Once identified, do not make the mistake of confronting them with fire. Machiavelli didn't believe in reckless exposure. He believed in power through precision. What you need is not a dramatic rupture. What you need is distance and emotional recalibration. You begin to compartmentalize. You no longer share the details of your journey. You let them cheer for the surface while you protect the foundation. They are no longer allowed to sit in the front row of your ambition, and you do not apologize for that. Think of this example. A friend shares with their close friend that they want to start a new business. The friend nods and says, "That's exciting," then follows with, "Just be careful. You know, a lot of those fail in the first year." The tone is kind. The words seem protective, but underneath is a subtle doubt, one that lingers in your mind. If you're not careful, that small seed grows roots. You start questioning yourself, altering your plan, delaying action. And you never realize it wasn't your fear that stopped you. It was their fear, injected into your system under the mask of care. True allies fuel your vision. Their critiques are rooted in belief, not in doubt. So, alongside creating distance from frenemies, take a more powerful, proactive step. Build your own circle of allies. A small group of 2-3 people you absolutely trust, who genuinely want to see you win. These are the people who, when you share a big dream, will say, "That's great. How can we make it even bigger?" This circle will be your antidote to the poison of disguised sabotage. Ultimately, you must become your own gatekeeper. Never let the whisper of doubt disguise itself as love. Never reward hesitation with deeper trust. And never place your ambition into hands that tremble with envy. Let your ambition grow where sabotage can no longer find it. We have dissected 4 subtle acts of disrespect. Now, to truly master the game, we must go deeper. We need to understand the 2 master tricks, the foundational tactics from which all these other behaviors are born. Grasp these, and you will not just react, you will be one step ahead. The first master trick. The strategic interruption, the spotlight thief. Picture it again. You are in the middle of making a point during a group discussion. Your momentum is building, and just as your presence begins to gather attention, someone cuts in. Not loudly, not aggressively, but just enough to shift the spotlight. They redirect the conversation, steering the energy away from your words with a polished smile. Most people react in one of 3 wrong ways. They stay silent and hope someone notices. They laugh it off to keep the peace, or they try to speak louder to reclaim the floor. But each of these reactions gives the interrupter exactly what they want. It normalizes their action, while you become the one who looks like you're trying too hard. Slowly, you begin to disappear. A Machiavellian strategist would not let this pass. They do not escalate, but they reframe. When interrupted, do the opposite of your instinct. Pause, not with annoyance, but with calm precision. Turn to the one who interrupted and hold up a mirror for everyone to see. Say something like, "It's interesting how you tend to speak up just as I'm about to finish. It makes me wonder if it's what I'm saying or what you're avoiding hearing." No raised voice, no hostility, just a cold mirror of truth. Suddenly, the room is not looking at you as someone who was interrupted. They are looking at the interrupter as someone who tried to control the frame and failed. You have shifted the dynamic not by overpowering, but by outpositioning. You don't need volume, you need clarity. The second master trick, the withholding of acknowledgement, the success neutralizer. If interruption is an active assault, this tactic is a passive-aggressive war of attrition. You accomplish something rare. You achieve a goal few believed in, and instead of celebration, they offer you nothing. No comment, no message, not even eye contact. This is not an oversight, it is strategy. Their silence is a message. Your success means so little to me, it doesn't deserve recognition. Behind this silence is often the purest expression of envy. They simply cannot bring themselves to utter words that validate your success because it feels like a personal defeat. By withholding acknowledgement, they aim to control your morale, hoping to make you question whether your achievement has value at all. And if you need their validation, they win. What do? Beg for attention? No. A strategist does not plead. Instead, you take back the frame. You do this not by bragging, but by weaving your accomplishments into the natural fabric of conversation. For example, you might say, "The project I finished last week taught me a lot about managing pressure and deadlines." You are not asking to be celebrated. You are making it impossible for them to ignore the fact of your growth. You do not wait for them to tell your story. You tell it yourself, not with arrogance, but with ownership. The Stoics remind us that what others fail to give us cannot define us unless we allow it. You do not need everyone to cheer for you. You only need to stand in your own progress with quiet pride. And when someone chooses to go silent in the face of your light, that silence is their confession. You don't need to confront them. You simply continue walking forward. So whether someone interrupts your thoughts or starves your growth of recognition, the answer is the same. You do not become louder, you become clearer. You do not retaliate, you reveal. You do not seek their approval, you establish your value. Dealing with one person is a chess match. But what happens when the entire board turns against you? What happens when the disrespect is not from an individual, but from a silent, coordinated mob? This is one of the most brutal psychological battlefields, collective undermining. It doesn't arrive with a raised voice or a pointed insult. It moves through glances, through silence, through laughter that lasts a second too long when you stumble. It is not one person openly challenging you. It is a group slowly eroding your presence through coordinated dismissals. A joke here, a smirk there, inside references you are never invited into. At first, it feels too subtle to name. You wonder if you are imagining things, and that is the trap. Collective undermining is designed to be unprovable. Its power lies in its deniability. It makes you doubt your instincts, question your worth, and eventually shrink your voice without anyone needing to directly oppose you. Why do people behave this way in groups? This is mob psychology. People who would never be cruel alone suddenly feel brave with allies. It's a concept called diffusion of responsibility. When acting as part of a group, no one feels fully responsible. I was just laughing along. Everyone was doing it. The cruelty is diluted, and no one feels like the bad guy. The attack on you becomes a way for them to reinforce their own group identity. Most people under this pressure react in two failing ways. They either collapse or they retaliate. They try to overcompensate, becoming overly agreeable, desperately seeking inclusion. Or they lash out, becoming reactive and emotional, playing right into the hands of those who want them to appear unstable. But a strategist, a Stoic, does neither. They do not chase approval. They do not dignify the tactics with visible frustration. They hold the frame and then they recalibrate the room. Imagine this master-level scenario. You offer a strong idea in a group meeting. There is no open rejection, just a wave of soft resistance. Eyes roll, smiles are exchanged between colleagues, and the idea is quietly buried. You do not protest or argue. Instead, in the next meeting, you walk in with quiet leverage. You calmly state, since the last suggestion did not gain traction internally, I ran it past a few contacts in the industry. Interestingly, 2 of the proposals are now being used by our competitors. You pause, you let the silence speak. Then you add, feedback often looks different when it comes from outside the echo chamber. No accusation, no bitterness, just undeniable presence. With that one statement, you have reclaimed the conversation. You have reminded everyone that your value is not confined to their approval. Of course, this is a high-level tactic. What if you don't have the opportunity for external validation? Try a different, equally subtle strategy: selective engagement. Instead of trying to win over the mob, identify the 1 or 2 key decision makers or influencers in the room. Before the next meeting, approach one of them privately. Hi, I know my idea in the last meeting didn't get much traction, but I've put together a 1-page summary of the potential benefits. Could you take a quick look when you have a moment? This move bypasses the mob mentality and speaks directly to power. It shows strategic thinking and forces the key person to evaluate your idea on its merits, away from the group's negative influence. Collective disrespect only thrives in environments where it goes unacknowledged. When you counter it with elegance, when you respond not with noise but with clarity and position, you reveal its weakness. This disrespect is like dust on glass. It accumulates unnoticed until you can barely see your own reflection. The real battle is not for their approval, it is for your sovereignty. We have now journeyed through the external battlefields, the one-on-one confrontations, and the group dynamics. Now, we enter the final, most important arena, the battle for identity. This is where the opponent no longer attacks what you say or what you do. They attack who you are. They do this through 2 master tactics of perception management. The first tactic, selective visibility, the game of making you invisible. This is a form of disrespect so subtle it almost escapes notice. Machiavelli would recognize it not as coincidence, but as strategy. You see it when someone showers others with enthusiastic attention, but greets you with indifference. They light up at others' success, but fall silent when yours is mentioned. When you speak, they glance at their phone. When you post something meaningful, they say nothing. Yet you see them engaging publicly and positively with everyone else. This is no accident. It is a quiet campaign of social minimization, a public withdrawal of attention designed to suggest that your presence does not carry weight. In a world obsessed with optics, selective attention is power. When someone deliberately withholds recognition, they are sending a signal to everyone watching that you do not matter as much. How do you respond? You do not chase their attention. You do not sink to their level. You rise beyond their reach. You create such undeniable value that their silence becomes awkward. Let your results speak. Let your name be mentioned in rooms where they have no influence. Let your wins echo beyond their apathy. When your impact becomes a fact, their silence exposes their insecurity. What once made you look invisible now makes them look envious. The second tactic, the false compliment, the social leash. If the first tactic makes you invisible, this one traps you in a visible but confining role. It comes not in silence, but in praise. You're so easygoing. You're always the nice one. You never start drama. It sounds like admiration, but beneath the surface lies control. They are not celebrating your character. They are cementing your role. What they are really saying is this: stay agreeable, stay silent, stay easy to manage. And the moment you break that mold, by speaking up, by setting a boundary, by commanding space, they withdraw that praise. Suddenly you are no longer the kind one. You are difficult. You are a problem. This is praise not meant to elevate, but to confine. Admiration with strings attached. If someone only supports you when you are small, that is not respect. That is manipulation. So the next time someone says, "You're always so easygoing," you look them in the eye and say calmly, "Not always. I have learned when silence costs more than tension." Both of these tactics are a form of identity framing. The opponent is trying to define who you are for you. They frame you as unimportant through silence or convenient through praise. The ultimate act of power is to reject their frame and assert your own. With a single sentence, you free yourself from the role they assigned you. You show them you are not here to be managed. You are here to be respected. Remember this: you do not owe them the version of you they are most comfortable with. You owe yourself the truth of who you are becoming. And once you step into that truth without apology, without hesitation, without waiting for their permission, you do not just reclaim your voice. You command the room. We have journeyed through a long campaign. We have learned to identify, analyze, and counter specific tactics of disrespect. But all of that, while effective, is still reactive. Now, in this final part, we discuss the ultimate step. Not just to play the game better, but to become the board. Not just to react to the games, but to end them. We will now speak of forging a state called cold authority. True authority is not built on reactions. It is built on discipline. It is not forged through loud confrontations or dramatic declarations. It is established in the quiet moments where others expect you to flinch and you simply don't. As Machiavelli understood, a ruler who builds power on noise must constantly defend it. But the one who builds it on silence and consequence never needs to explain. You do not rise by calling out every slight. You rise by making people feel the weight of losing your energy, your time, your presence, the moment they take it for granted. This is the core mechanism of cold authority. When someone disrespects you with a smirk, a late reply, or a cutting comment, you don't need to decode it. You register it with calm precision. No drama, no escalation. And then you reduce access. You stop feeding them energy. You do not become cold out of anger. You become selective out of self-respect. Because those who truly value you never need to be reminded. Let's see it in action. Someone tries to make a joke at your expense in front of others. Most would respond defensively or laugh to keep the peace. Not you. You remain still. You offer no warmth. You meet their eyes and say calmly, "People often reveal more than they mean to when they are trying to be funny." In that moment, you have shifted the entire room without shouting. You have made their tactic visible and their power irrelevant. Everyone saw it. And more importantly, everyone now understands you are not someone who plays the game. You are someone who ends it. Another example: when someone interrupts you, do not battle for attention. Let them finish. Then return to your point as if their words held no weight. That moment of disregard says more than any confrontation ever could. It tells them, "You do not move me. You do not exist on the level where you can disturb my clarity." This is strategic dismissal, the most elegant form of control. This is where most people fail. They believe respect is earned by acting tougher or louder, but real power comes from becoming someone others cannot predict, yet always feel the presence of. Over time, people learn. The ones who once tested you begin to pause. Their jokes change, their tone softens, not because you punished them, but because they now carry the weight of your possible reaction. That anticipation becomes your armor. So from this moment on, draw your line. No more laughing along with veiled insults. No more accepting silence where acknowledgement is owed. No more tolerating sarcasm dressed as kindness. You correct these things because you understand a truth carved deep into the Stoic and Machiavellian mind. What you allow is what will continue, and what you tolerate in silence today becomes the standard for how others treat you tomorrow. When they test you through silence, sarcasm, or delay, let your calm response reshape the entire room. Because quiet strength corrects what noise cannot.